So one reason I think that I almost compulsively make these car videos these days, and remember, I mean, if you're a long time, quote unquote, long time follower of this channel, 6 months ago I made very few car videos, if any, or maybe I did back then, but until this past the summer of 2022, I just did the podcast basically. I made very few videos, and I shared this information via my books, and if you wanted to work with me more intimately, via my counseling and coaching. But the reason I think I've started making so many of these car videos is because one big thing this channel is trying to convey is that the law of assumption, law of attraction, manifesting information that is usually dispersed and dispelled on social media, particularly YouTube, because that's the platform that we're on, right? That information is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this stuff, usually. The popular or even somewhat popular advice being shared about law of assumption and law of attraction is just the beginning. And I want to show you and explore with you different avenues you can take that can take you further in different ways of applying this stuff. Because we don't see it enough. We don't hear about it enough. For instance, I've been into Neville for a long time now, and it's great in a way, as I've said time and time again, that his stuff's more popular. But we're also lying to ourselves, at least the vast majority of us are, if we think that that's all that's out there in regards to applying these principles. Same with Abraham Hicks or any of this popularized stuff we see on YouTube. It's just the tip of the iceberg. And as I've said many times, someone like Neville, someone like Abraham Hicks, what they're pointing at is too deep and nuanced just to, really get the point probably from watching some videos. You have to go deeper into the material. In your bones, personally, subjectively, like I was talking about yesterday. It's a subjective experience. And this channel exists in part just to show you that there's so many different ways of doing this. And what I really want to convey to people is that you're processing things, right? Like when you find out about this information, a lot of it is then processing it and realizing that you're trying to apply it. If you like if you like a certain technique, for instance, or tool, you're trying to apply it, and inevitably all this shit's going to come up. All this quote unquote resistance is going to come up. All these uncomfortable feelings are going to come up. And how do we react during that? Are we able to, one could say persevere or just move through these feelings and accept them being there and perhaps even work with them and learn from them and just keep on going and keep a relatively calm head while we do that? That's the process. And I just don't see many channels on YouTube talking about that process. Instead, it's like, do this technique, you'll feel better in 3 weeks, or 3 months, you'll manifest whatever you want, or whatever. That's not how it works, at least for anybody I've ever met. Shit comes up and we deal with it. That's how it works, really. And that's why I've been saying the last couple of videos, this is not that different than self-improvement or therapy or counseling or other spiritual practices. It's like you're living your life, you're doing your best, right? You're trying to keep focused on what you want, and stuff comes up. And when stuff comes up, you ask yourself, well, how do I feel right now? And, what do I want? And why is this coming up? And that's a personal, subjective experience. It's not something that you can wrap in a little package, put on a YouTube video, and watch the video, and all of a sudden you understand something. It's not like the light suddenly goes off. It's not like that. It's much more intimate and personal than that. So that's, I think, why I compulsively make these videos, partially out of anger. Anger at the superficial presentation of this stuff. I mean, my podcast, for instance, Law of Attraction Explored, what we cover there is so different in the 90 some odd episodes of that podcast compared to the videos you see about the law of assumption or law of attraction that are on here, at least most of the time. Because we're actually delving in intimately, subjectively, about what this is like when you're actually applying it in your life. It's not like, oh, I'm in a bed of roses and everything's perfect. Of course it can be like that sometimes. But a lot of the time it's like, oh, I'm in pain. I don't know why I'm in pain. Can I figure out why I'm in pain? What hurts? Why? What thoughts are going through my head? Where does my body feel tight? How can I move through this? How can I feel okay with this pain? Why is it coming up? How can I feel okay right now? Can I be present right now? Even though I'm in pain, aren't I present right now? It's processing. And as you process, you continue, reading these LOA or law of assumption teachings, and you learn more about yourself and you learn more about the teachings. It's all integrated. It's all intimate. My book, The Law of Attraction Simplified, that's what that book's talking about. The Law of Attraction Simplified is about this, about the process, right? Like I say in the book, you fall off the horse, you wipe yourself off, and you try to get back on. And then you keep on riding. But you can't always get on right away. Sometimes it seems very difficult to get back on. But guess what? You have to get back on, whether you like to or not. But when you fall off, you don't have to make it as big a deal. And you can process it. And even kind of like in a weird way, appreciate falling off the horse. Then you get back on and keep on riding. And externally, you have your goal and eventually you get there. Or if you don't get there, you've shifted course to something else that you want. To paraphrase a famous saying, I think it's like life favors those who favor themselves, in the sense that like, if you give yourself the opportunity to succeed, then you are going to succeed in some fulfilling way. And, my own personal approach is to come back to the present moment again and again in order to do that. Because when we come back to the present moment, we realize we can succeed again and again right now, quite literally. There's satisfaction and fulfillment. There's abundance, right? Right now in the present moment. That's when I say relax into abundance. When I say relax into abundance, I don't mean don't relax into an abundant future. Relax into the abundance that is now. And of course, we can imagine that abundant future, where like if we want like a happy family and we're rich and healthy and we're frolicking in the mountains or something like that, we can imagine that to feel happy and abundant. But really, when we imagine that and really feel it, like Neville talks about, we're feeling that abundance right now. No other time but now. So most of this LOA stuff is just the tip of the iceberg on YouTube. And what I'm sharing with you, not because of me, but because of the material, because there's a lot of great material out there, especially when we mix it with other fascinating, spiritual concepts, therapy concepts, self-improvement, philosophical concepts. There's so many different ways to explore this stuff, so many ways to get deeper in to the material. That's why this channel exists. And I don't know why I felt inspired to make this PSA type video this morning, but I did. So I hope it helps. If you have questions, radicalcounselor.com.